Saturday, June 11th, Forex chart review. Today, before we get started, I'd like to jump in on a weekly review for the news. Okay, so I'm just going to pop open my Google right here. And what you're going to see is the week kind of in review. And what we're going to be looking at is USD specifically, right? This is going to affect a lot of movement overall in the major currency pairs as well as stocks later on. So I'm just going to dive into this right now quickly. PPI, so if we expand this, PPI stands for Producer Price Index. Now, if you're aware of the news and what they've been saying, you know, current inflation is at 8.4% or something like that. Realistically speaking, since March 12th of 2021, if we add all these together, we're at about 11.4, I believe it was. I could be off by a couple decimal places, points. But it's actually much higher than what you've been expecting. Overall, it is, since March of 2021, everything is costing us approximately 11.5% more than what it did last year. Okay, so that's what it is, and you know, it's forecasted at 0.8 increase, and if it does increase by 0.8, then we're going to a 12.2% inflation rate since middle of March of last year. Okay, core PPI, that basically means everything except for oil, and I believe it's one other commodity that's not included in this. Okay. So if we move forward, on June 15th, retail sales and core retail sales, we get our information from that. Empire State Manufacturing Index, so New York. And as we scroll down, we see FOMC economic projections and statement and federal fund rate right here. So this is where they're going to raise the interest rate. And as you can see here, it's going to be increased by 0.5%. Okay. Now, that is going to be really tough to swallow. If it ends up being increased more than that, I mean, for USD, as far as the currency pair goes, that means it's going to be extremely bullish for the next few months, even more so than what it was. But for stocks and stock exchanges like the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq, that's going to be very scary. It could drop even further than what we've seen on May 20th, where it hit its, you know, ultimate lows in the last 8 months or so. Actually, now that we pop in over them, let's take a look, because the lowest that we've seen it go right here, it hasn't been this low since, I guess the last time it hit that area was November of 2020. Right, so it's dropping quite hard and fast. Okay. But anyway, so much for that. Just a couple of things to keep an eye on. If you are looking to jump into any currency trades, I would recommend checking out Forex Factory, simply because they have a lot of news that is coming up and some projections, right? So if it's a currency pair that you want to jump in, but there's news coming out the following day, it would probably be a good idea to wait until that moves forward before entering on the trade. And the reason is because if you're expecting it to go a certain way, it could just spike a couple of minutes the opposite direction and smack you out of your stop loss, and then go in the direction that you planned. Right? So just always be cautious of entering trades when there's major news on your currency pair that you're entering. But let's dive into Aud Cad. And what I see here on the daily time frame, I was expecting this to kind of go up a little bit higher, up to the 618, but it looks like it's pulling back one more time and it's rejecting off this line right here. So before this trade becomes valid, which I'll move it over slightly, okay, something like that, and then I'll move the fib over as well. This could be a very good opportunity to take a buy on this as well. Now, again, the buy would be counter trend, and I'll just pop over on my EMA lines. Okay, now the buy is counter trend, so you need to be very cautious when entering those. But a potential gain, if it bounces off right at this zone once again, let's see, stop loss would probably be about there. 30, let's go 40 pips just to be safe, on the safe side, up to the 618. Right, so that's a potential 7.4 to 1 gain, right, for a quick move. And AUD, it's should be much stronger than CAD is. Like I said, just check Forex Factory just to make sure what the interest rates are compared with each country. I know a colleague of mine did the report already, and I believe that besides United States dollar, Australian dollar is the strongest currency right now. Okay, so good to keep an eye on that. Yeah, so potential trade right there. I'll just set an alert once it reaches the entry zone. Right, entering buy zone. All right, maybe better if I did it on the 4 hour or the 1 hour, but it'll trigger on the daily. Doesn't really matter. Let's jump in on AUD CHF. So this one, I projected that it would hit off the purple, but it looks like it went slightly higher, but it's still not making new highs. So it's definitely worth looking into now. We'll switch to the 4 hour. All right, you can definitely see that there was an EMA shift already up here. So this is well within the entry zone, and you know, very good opportunity to take a sell here. I'm going to be jumping on this trade as markets open, but I'm going to set a buy stop or sell stop order here with a stop loss around that purple line that we have. Okay, I'm not going to jump in where it is because I just want to make sure it sticks with my appropriate structure that I have laid out there. All right, so we're flipping that over to green. It looks like a viable trade option now. AUD Jpy. So Jpy, for whatever reason, has been gaining a bit of steam over the last 2 weeks, but I think that's going to be short-lived. As you can see, there was a rejection off this EMA on the 4 hour, and on the daily, it was just 2 days worth of movement going down. Right, everything else was quite sharp going up. But as you see on the 4 hours, the EMA switched. Right now, we had a hard rejection off the 55 EMA right here, and again, very good opportunity for this to kind of just bounce once more and keep going up. Like I said before, AUD is the strongest pair. JPY and CHF are the two weakest ones right now, and they will continue to be weak. Both countries will not be increasing interest rates. So not great for currency for them, but great on their stock markets. Okay, and if we take a look at the MACD just for the sake of it, it's crossing here, but you can see the histogram, it's losing some steam, right? And if this kind of bounces up as well, that's a very good sign for a buy entry. But as we saw before, this trade kind of ended where it was. Potential to take would be pretty much off of here, let's say going up to the next blue line right there, with a stop loss of, where's the potential? I would say right here. I would be looking at that wick being the lowest point, maybe just a little bit under it. Know that story, right? So about 62, 63 pips, I guess. 10 to 1 ratio is still pretty good to grab. Okay, and if you're still in that trade, that's fantastic. This is still going to continue to rise, right? The last opportunity to enter would have been around May 26th, around here. So we'll keep an eye on that one, and we'll set alert. I would say, yeah, we'll set alert right on that black line. Add alert on horizontal line, entering buy zone. I spelled it wrong, but I know what's up. AUD Nzd. So again, similar to JPY, Nzd just gained a little bit of steam over the last 2 days, but that's just going to be temporary. It's going to reverse and keep going upwards. We'll just see when that happens, right? So as you can see, USD really kicked AUD's butt. I was expecting a slightly higher move, but it could be that it happened already, you know, that move up. So as you see, it just it came up and it didn't even hit the 618. It just kind of bounced off the 50% and started dropping. So this could potentially spell the end of this trade idea. Right, I'll just leave it up and see how it goes over the next few days. It's a possibility that you know, once USD's numbers come up, it's going to lose steam for maybe a couple of days, and then it'll continue and, you know, go much, much deeper. Let's see Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not been very fun for anyone. Okay, it's going to continue to drop. Right now, we've seen the push down to about 27,000. You know, on May 12th, it spiked down to 25,000, went right back up. So if we do a replay, you know, I'll just grab that particular area and I'll delete the volume profile. Okay, let's zoom in there and switch the time frame. We'll see what these wicks actually did, right? And you know, it was this one right here where it kind of spiked down, went right back up. So it went down and up about $2,000 within 30 minutes. Let's see if we can narrow that down. Where are we? Okay, so this is on the 5-minute time frame. So it looks like it just touched that white line that we had drawn up in the past. And as you can see, I raised the Fibonacci, and there it is. Okay, so it just bounced off like that. It's that candle pattern is known as a morning star, and it just started to rise from that point onwards, right, on the 5-minute time frame anyway. And yeah, I mean, it would have been a decent short-term trade to take on a buy, but it's not. Am I looking at the right place? Yeah, but it's not. It's not something that's going to be sustainable. It's going to be dropping. Again, as USD goes up, everything around USD will drop, including Bitcoin, right? So just keep an eye on that for yourselves. And then I'll just get rid of that so you can see where it's starting to pull down to. Okay, back to the daily. So yeah, as far as this is concerned, what would be a reasonable place to see it would come back to? You know, it's a possibility that 19,000 is going to be the next target for Bitcoin. It's a little bit rough to drop that low, but as you can see, all these volume spikes, right? This is the point of control all the way back from December. It's definitely possible that it's going to hit that low. It may not be right away. I have a feeling it's going to take maybe a few months to get down to that area. As we saw right here, it kind of, you know, on January it clobbered a new low, and then it was kind of all over the place until, again, May 5th, right? So that was a span of about 4 months that it just kind of hung around in a zone, slowly going upwards before dropping hard. Okay, we might be seeing the same thing happen here, where it's going to be bouncing around a little bit like that, and then back down it goes, right? So just to follow my mouse along, you know, we could be seeing something like this, you know, that, and as soon as it closes that line, you know, something like this, similar to what we've seen in the past, right? Bitcoin has the a knack of pulling that sort of move, right? So as you can see, kind of hovered around the same place, went up, down, but this is where we had that bullish spike. This is a different story altogether. Okay, Cad Chf. So let's see how this is going. Oh, entry, such a beautiful entry right here. Look at this. Look at this on the daily time frame, no less. I'm just going to slide it over. Oh, what a snipe. Look at that. Just saying. That would have been very nice to jump into, right, folks? Look at this. It just smacked the entry, barely 1 pip. Barely 1 pip. The unfortunate thing would be is if your broker spread would be a little over 1 pip, that would not have triggered automatically. That's the only rough part about those kinds of entries. But what a snipe. That's gorgeous. Right, and yeah, we're just going to be paying attention to that already in the trade, and already, what are we saying? Yeah, this is where it ended. So 70 pips in profit, so that's pretty good, right? Pretty good snipe. We'll see how these candle patterns finish off for the next week, but I'm kind of projecting it goes somewhere down here, right? CHF is a very weak currency right now, so very nice entry. Again, pat on the back for me. Thank you very much. Cad Jpy. All right, same idea. Look where it's rejecting off of. It's close to that pink EMA, the 55, and this yellow line from the fib channel. So again, we have a strong opportunity to look at a trade something like this, right? And just to take it up to the next yellow line, you know, all intents purposes, let's say long-term more to the white right there. And stop loss, I would say just a little bit under that yellow, so 50 pips would be reasonable. A 10 or 11 to 1 ratio on this trade seems very doable. So set alert. Okay, entering, wow, spelled that one wrong, entering buy zone. Okay, CHF Jpy, looks like this kind of played out for now. Again, 2-week pairs battling it out, but at the same time, you know, TP gone and done. Thank you very much. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And look what we had here, right? If you missed the first entry right there, had a beautiful snipe right back down to where we set that, and up it went. Just continued to climb on the 4-hour. EMAs never switched until just at the end of Friday right there. So good opportunity. And for an 11 to 1 risk to reward ratio on that, would have been even better. Let's say if we grabbed something like that and it didn't hit. So it could have been a 33 to 1 if it was only a 20 pip stop loss. But again, I was expecting a drop a little bit harder. So still 12 to 1 is very good. As far as entry for this, again, all potential JPY pairs have the same outlook, right? You can see the pullback before another move up, but why jump on CHF when we know there's going to be stronger currency pairs out there, right? Ethereum, similar to Bitcoin, but it's dropping harder, right? So you saw Bitcoin hasn't gotten over its low on May 11th there, but Ethereum already blasted right through it. So yeah, we're looking very, very bearish for cryptocurrencies right now. Euro AUD. I mean, not the greatest zigzag following, but it did pretty well. Like it started to move the way I expected. So we'll just delete that now. Okay. And now what I see here, this was the only unfortunate thing, right? So this would not have been a very great snipe right there. If the trade was taken. You know, I'm a big fan of jumping in on EMA shifts, but on the CHF pair that I saw, which one were we talking about? Cad CHF, right? This was the only one I would have jumped in on while it was there, and the reason is because, as you can see, it wasn't making new highs as this candle closed, right? It kind of bounced off that same area for several hours, right, before it went further down. So let's look at the 1 hour, what this looked like, right? So you can see tested, almost tested, so this would have been still a very good entry to take. Whereas Euro AUD, this was a very strong candle on the 1 hour even, right? So if we go 15-minute, you can see these kinds of spikes that were going up. So if you see this shooting up, right, lots of volatility, just stay out until it kind of bounces out, right? And at that time, it balanced itself out right here, where you saw that it was not making any new highs, right? So you can see it stopped right there and then went a little lower and then kind of went sideways for a bit, popped back up. But as you can see, these wicks never crossed these ones up here. So this would have been a strong sign for an entry on a sell. Okay, yeah, it bounced up all the way here. We could have another potential run up just the entry point before going down. So, you know, hold off, I would say, until you know, there's going to be a EMA switch going back down, right? If it doesn't hit entry, then on a maybe 15-minute or even a 30-minute time frame, I'll be looking at this EMA shifting back down, and that'll be a good sign for me to enter on a sell. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that one, and we'll return to that a few days later. We'll see how it goes on Sunday and Monday. Euro Cad. What a nice snipe too. Let's go into the daily. Okay. So again, it would have been one of the things where entry would have been taken here, but unfortunately, if you know, here's the deal. If you jumped in on an entry there and then you're up 129 pips at the peak right there, 125, and then it goes right back down to entry, what's the likelihood that you're gonna keep your stop loss at negative at 40 pips, right? It's very, very likely you'd be moving your stop loss to break even. So yes, I mean, this would have definitely sucked, right? And I can vouch for that as well. I'll just lock these so I don't move anything around. I don't want to do that. We'll lock that too. Okay, so as you can see, right, the first opportunity for entry would have been right there as it hit, but it went lower. You know, we never broke the stop loss and kept going higher. Lots of volatility, but now, boom, it hit off that zone once again. So this is the unfortunate situation here with this trade. As you can see, you just would have been knocked out, but then it started to go right back up. Okay, so, you know, at that point in time, possibly wait for an EMA shift before entering again. But if it's that kind of situation, you know, one of two things could happen. Either you didn't move your stop loss up, or you got knocked out of the trade. Personally, if I get knocked out of trades when it's something like that happens, I just rather stay out. Right? I don't know if it's going to be a volatile pair to jump into afterwards, or if it's going to continue up as planned, right? Typically, once it leaves the zone, I will always move my stop loss up to break even, right? If it was something like this that I saw in the 1 hour, or it was a hard shift, you know, we saw this red candle and it did a little recovery, but it never closed above it, probably worth a sell, right? So maybe at worst it would have been snagging, you know, something like 49 or 50 pips, so 1-to-1 at that point. Nothing fantastic, but you know what? It's better than losing. Excuse me. So definitely still a valid trade if you are still in it. Otherwise, if you were knocked out or took some early profits, that's fine too, right? It's a strong possibility that this is still going to go right back up to that line. As we saw, that's where resistance has been holding for the last few months, and support just below this line, right? So if I move this lower now, right, we'll unlock these and we'll slide this black line down a little bit to where all these wicks were bouncing off of. You know, that's a pretty good sign. This is where we have movement and it's going to be heading upwards, right? So risk, you can see on the daily, it's still EMAs are going down. You know, we have this DeLorean pattern right here. I mean, it's not going through the body, but the wick is pretty close, right? And if the EMAs haven't shifted yet, they still have a potential to go down and snag another entry, right? So just a little patience, exercising patience would be pretty good on this one. Euro CHF, a little bit of zigzags, like I was saying last week. It did close this gap that was in this area, as you can see with these wicks. So this is invalidated. This guy's invalidated. We have right here this interest. But I was expecting CHF to go more, this currency pair to go more bearish, right? As we can see right here though, this is what you would call areas of liquidity, right? Where we're not breaking this high, but we've hit the same zone twice, right? So here, and then here, right? Those two spots. And if it continues with this pattern, right? If it let's say it goes up one more time, but it doesn't break through it, I would say that this is a good potential for a sell, right? So I would be looking at right there, and a super tight stop loss. I would say risking a very, very small amount, you know, maybe 15 or 16 pips. And just down to here. So even risking 15 pips, you know, let's say on a 1% of a entire size, you still have a potential of a 15-to-1 trade, even if it would last a few days, right? So good, strong potential there. I'm really curious to see if it hits that area once more. For whatever reason, I kind of doubt it, right? And again, with this sort of trade and it's that low, smaller time frames for EMA shifts, right? That's what I'm looking at. Once it comes up to there, and this area, I'd be looking for an EMA shift going down. Once the EMA shift happens, trade is taken. So yeah, 30-minute time frame I would say is what I'd be watching for this particular currency pair. And just to make sure that it triggers, this is what we can do, right? We'll just set an alert right here before it gets to entry. entering sell zone. Okay, so that means our alert will trigger on the 30-minute time frame. And now back on the daily, Euro GBP. So with this currency pair, I'm expecting it to go bearish, right? GBP has higher interest rates than the euro right now, and very good potential that this is going to drop harder. But as we see from the highs that it made right here, they were broken. Okay, so it's a very good chance that on the daily, this is just forming kind of a cup and handle, right? It has a good potential to go up higher. So just because of that, it's been super volatile. Like you can see these moves, right? These giant wicks of like 60, 70 pips. You know, it goes up one day, 50, 60, drops the other. I mean, this isn't a pair I'm looking to trade right now anyway. So we'll just move on. Euro JPY, surprisingly strong. And look, it actually reached that zone. I was expecting that to happen way back here, right? Kind of, where were we? 21, no, I'm not that far away, where I have my arrow, right? I was expecting that move to bounce off here and climb all the way up. So, I mean, if we did draw it on the daily, that would have been a fantastic win. Look at that go. Unfortunately, I drew up a short one just all the way up here, but it did not cross within the weekly time frame. I, for whatever reason, thought it was going to keep going a little lower, so it was a trade that was exited. But it hit TP. I mean, that's if we look back to when did I draw this up? I think I did the arrow May 10th. Yeah, so if we take a look at one of the chart reviews, I think it was on May 7th. You'd see the potential trade that I had going there. So it was just a matter of patience. Like this actually worked out nicely, right? It was TP hit for 1,000, right? 1,000 TP right there, or TP, 1,000 pips. That was a very nice trade. Yep, I did not exercise patience, folks. It is what it is, right? There's other things on my mind rather than just trading. I know you don't want to hear that, but hey, we're all human. Okay? Either way. So up to 1,032 pips. It's a very nice trade. It did take a while though, as you see, 86, well, that doesn't mean anything, 20 days worth, right? So almost a month, but 1,000 pips in a month is fantastic. Okay, and huge rejection right now over the last 2 days, right, as every JPY currency pair is showing. So, yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. As far as another entry goes, since it broke the previous high that we had here, so let's take a look at the weekly here, right, just to see where that's at. Oh, it wasn't the previous high. It was an imbalance, I believe, that we found here, right? And when I found that, I'm like, okay, let's see if it hits that area. Boom, it hit it. Huge rejection, as you see. But that doesn't mean that the trade is over, right? Because as you see, many times that we've had wicks in particular direction, slow reversal the other way, and actually it overcame it in the long term, right? I mean, these are the weekly time frames, so let's check the daily, right, to see what that looks like. So as you can see, boom, daily, you know, for a month or so, kind of hovered, month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and then it broke through, right? So it took 6 months for that to happen. We could be seeing something similar here, but these moves are much stronger at this point. Like we've had since March 7th, this has been rising like a rocket, right? Like overall, it's climbed almost 2,000 pips. That's crazy. Okay, but great TP gain on that one if anybody decided to hold it. Very nice move there. I'm not going to be looking for another entry, although I still believe that this is going to be going up. Yep, Euro Nzd. Not really interested in this currency pair, but this is where I'm expecting, or I was expecting, a rejection off that area. Once again, it came close, but it didn't quite make it. So very likely that this is going to be dropping from this point onwards. And if we look on the daily, the larger EMAs are still pointing down. It's just those smaller ones are up. So I do not think that we're going to be going above this zone right there. Okay, but as far as a stop loss is concerned, you know, who knows where the entry might be, right? So that's got to be a judgment call for yours on your behalf. And yeah, this isn't a trade I'm looking to take personally. Euro USD. Now, this is a bit of a bummer. This move started to happen a little sooner. And the reason is because the CPI report came out. It was actually good. It was good for stocks, but as we know, the last time that the interest rates went up, USD kind of dropped hard, and then it gained a lot of steam. Okay, so let's see where that was. Where it dropped, I think it was middle of May. Right, so middle of May, right here. Right, so USD, I mean, it went, as far as currency pairs, it did go up, and then it dropped pretty hard with the CPI report. But I do believe that there's still a chance for it to climb all the way up here before dropping further. It's not showing right now. Well, a rejection off the 50% on the fib is pretty decent as any, but you know, optimistic that it's still going to rise to this area. We'll see what happens over the next few days, right? Otherwise, I mean, it's not exactly a missed entry, a never hit entry. Gbp Aud, similar story, right? Gbp is it's been kind of all over the place for a little while, like one day up, one day down. But as far as this currency pair goes, I have a feeling it's been rejecting off this 55 EMA. It's very similar situation. It can happen one more time before it drops. Otherwise, this is going to be the drop. Okay, Gbp Cad. Overall, I do believe that this is still going to drop. As you can see, where all of my Elliott waves are, even all my lines are drawn. Right, in the long term, this drop is almost like you can see how many identical moves we've had on the daily time frame. Right, so there's a very strong chance that it's still going to go down about, you know, maybe 200 pips, maybe a little bit more, before reversing and then dropping again. Cad is the stronger pair out of the two. Gbp Chf. Now this is super volatile. I mean, not a huge fan of taking any trades in this range, so I'll leave it alone. Gbp Jpy. JPY really came back with a vengeance on this currency pair especially. Right, we can see in one day it dropped 238 pips. It's quite a move in one day. Right, that would have been a fantastic snipe if anybody was able to jump in on that on a scalp or on a daily swing. Let's see on the 1 hour, where would we have had a good indicator? And I would have said it would have been this sign right here. This would have brought out the GAN box. You know, we almost had a 50% rejection there for several hours, and then it just dropped. Right. Another good indicator would be EMA shifted downwards, and then you had this pattern right here, which is textbook DeLorean. This is a beautiful candle pattern to look for when you want to guarantee yourself that shift down. Right. Whenever you see that, it's almost like, well, what's the ratio? I think 90-something percent, 91, 92%, that the trade will continue in that direction, right? And not just the next candle, but it's significantly further down. So that snipe, let's say if it was snagged, you know, almost, it would have been 1 a.m. Eastern time that this happened, right? So, you know, entering the trade, and by 12 p.m., would have been 186 pips in profit, so not too shabby. And as you can, if we kind of scan for that candle pattern, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right? Oh, here's another one. Right? Same story. Right? Those two, especially when the EMAs go through both of them, that is incredibly strong to look at. Oh, here's another one. Right? And you can see they're all happening within the same time, right? So 2300 my time is 1 a.m. Eastern. If you're up that late, able to take trades, that's great, because you can see it's happening frequently on this time frame, right? So where else are we able to see that candle pattern, right? Kind of, not really. And not where there's zigzagging or crossing through those candles. It has to be a nice clear shift in the one direction. So this is pretty good, right? I mean, it's still already in the trade, but once you see it, it's still a very good opportunity for an entry. And you know, the only issue is the entire candle. Prepare to keep that as a stop loss, right? It's very unlikely that it breaks, but as you see here, this one raised up, and that would have been a questionable exit, right, if the stop loss was there. But if we keep scanning, what can we find? Oh, see, on the reverse direction, we got one right here. Okay, right there, these two, right? Perfect kind of pattern. When did it happen? 3 p.m. my time, so 5 p.m. Eastern, right as you know, most people are able to trade. But yeah, almost perfect as well. The yellow didn't actually cross the red, just bounced off it. But that's a very good sign for a buy. So let's say you grabbed it right at the end of that candle, right? So 20 pips down, like I'm saying, go all the way down to that engulfing candle, because this volatility can happen. And then, you know, 20 or 30 pips stop loss, depending. Probably would have grabbed that 33. And then, you know, it climbed 160 pips within half a day, right? 7 a.m. Eastern. Not too shabby, right? So that's a good risk to reward ratio, about 5 to 1. But yeah, I mean, oh, here's another one, right? Just a little bit more exaggerated, I would say, right? Well, if it's that big of a candle, I'd be hesitant to go further in. But watch, if you had entered there, you know, your stop loss would need to be 76 pips, so that's pretty high. But it went 140, 139 at its peak. Right? So entirely possible to grab that one. But regardless, we're not talking strategy here. This is just to show you how often that this candle pattern appears and how to play off it, right? If you want strategies, then hey, there's going to be something for you one of these days. I'm going to be developing, I've already developed my own strategy that, like, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but as far as a loss ratio, there's only a 12% chance that you lose, like actually stop loss triggers on the trade you enter, right? If you follow the three rules with the 3 indicators and everything lines up, there's about 45% chance either you make profit or break even, but there's between 10 to 12% only that you actually trigger your stop loss. So as far as trading is concerned, that's really done great for me, and that is used more for swing trades. And all you need is 2 specific time frames to look at, and that is 9:30 Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. Every time between that doesn't really matter. But you know what? I'm not going to share that with you right now. That is going to be something that is reserved exclusively for anyone that I teach one-on-one, right? And it is possible, just send me a direct message if that's something you're interested in, and we can definitely set something up, okay? But anyway, let's continue. Gbp Nzd, what we have here going on, oh, see, so a little bit of a rejection, not necessarily off any EMAs, right? But we're having it happen right over all the big ones right here on the daily. So very good chance that all of this consolidation that we've seen over the last couple of months, right? So middle of June since like end of April, we're kind of end of April, maybe beginning of May, so a month, right? It's very possible that this is going to start dropping, right? We had a little bit of a test right there, but it went lower that time around, and now we're bouncing off that purple. However, we're not making new highs, so it's definitely possible, although again, not a currency pair I'd be entirely interested in. Gbp USD, so USD, when the rates came out, it kind of clobbered everybody, right? But again, it's not much of a surprise. I know USD is going to be very strong over the next few months. As far as a currency pair goes, that's really it. All right, so let's see. So similar to Nasdaq, right? So you see the Japanese index, right? Japan 225. So this is similar to Nasdaq or the Dow Jones, whichever. Probably the Dow, right? Because this is the longest running one in Japan. So as a great example, right, we saw Japanese currency, look, it gained so much strength, right? Like anything that's negative on a thing ending in JPY, that means JPY currency was very strong. However, JPY stocks were incredibly weak. They dropped 645 points on that day, right? We have the exact same issue happening with the Nasdaq, right? So you saw U.S. rates came out, boom, Nasdaq dropped, but USD, you could see incredibly strong, incredibly strong. Not really didn't go anywhere because they were both incredibly strong that day, right? But if we take a look at this, on the Japan 225, this has been steadily dropping since September, right? It's just getting clobbered, right? And not any worse for wear on our end here. But if we take into account where it's currently at, like, well, let's draw a fib the last time it spiked off that white line, right? Out of curiosity. So from there to its peak right here, we'll draw it across. So as you can see, it already hit off that 618 and it didn't make a lower low. Could be possible that because the Japanese have not been increasing their interest rates, it's entirely possible that their stocks are going to climb. They're going to be pulled out of their bearish market much sooner than us. And let's take a look at Nzdcad. Oh shoot, what did I do? All right, well, let's hope it was around there. But as we can see, 2 pins right there off that same area. Very strong chance. I mean, it's rejecting off that yellow. Hopefully that's where I drew it from. Oh, shoot. That's not what I wanted to do. Well, I'll be able to know where I drew it from. So let's see. Is there significance to that? There. Oh, hang on. I think we'll be able to get that. There we go. From there, there, and this one was there. Okay, good enough. All right. So yeah, that's where we see that one overall. And we're hitting off that same point, right? You can see here, very, I mean, damn. Right? Like if we saw that earlier, that's pretty good, right? Off that same point twice. And not just the exact same point, but as you see, it bounced off the yellow twice. What a very good indicator that is. Quite possible NZD will start going up, but big wick, it's usually a little bit deceptive. It could climb all the way back here and then just drop again. So I'm going to be looking for a sell on this one. Again, not a particular currency pair I like, but the imbalance. If we look on a smaller time frame, do we see an imbalance? Just here, right? This high on the 4-hour all the way back in April. Yeah, I mean, there's a definite possibility it could go up that high. Even here, we shrink this down and down to the yellow once again. It's possible. I'm not going to discount anything. I'll leave that up. I'll see where it goes, right? This is just kind of a shot in the dark. It's if it does come to that area, yeah, fantastic. But I don't really expect it to pull up that high. There's really nothing driving it except a little imbalance right here back in April. Nzd Chf, not even interested. Nzd Jpy, better JPY currencies out there, but as you can see, Nzd is a little stronger. It only went negative 0.44, whereas other currencies, like, they went hard, right? Like negative 1.42%. So Nzd is quite strong by comparison. And we've already had the bounce off that 618 right here, so unlikely that this is going to reverse once again and go lower, because again, it's not the strongest currency pair out right now. Nzd USD, Yeah, I'm expecting still for it to hit this retracement zone before dropping lower. So still going to keep an eye on that. USD Cad. Need I say more? What a beautiful entry on this one too. Yeah, this is one I don't know if I would have waited on an EMA shift. I mean, I can't tell you if I took the trade or not, can I? But let's just say I'm doing pretty well. Okay, so currently it's sitting at 265 pips in profit. Very nice. And what were we looking at right here? These institutional candles, right? And this is off the 1 hour, but if we were going on the 4 hour, what do we see? Institutional knows an imbalance. Okay, pulled right back down to that, just nicked the 50% and up it went. So fantastic entry right here. Very, very good. All right, and currently, yeah, it was a 50 pip stop loss. It could have been much, much tighter. But yeah, it is what it is, right? I mean, you can't really change that later on. Can't change that to 10 pips. It'd be really nice if you could, but no, it's at 50 pips and doing really good so far, so we'll leave that alone. USD Chf did not drop as low as I expected. Let's see on the daily, right? So yeah, it rejected hard and went up. That's okay. USD Jpy didn't really do a whole lot on that day because again, it's two strong reports that came out on the same day. So, you know, nothing really happened with this currency pair. Silver. What do we see in silver? Yeah, I'm expecting a pullback up to here before anything else happens. XAU, so gold. Yeah, this is a little rough, right? So I drew this up last week, I believe it was. But here's the situation, right? What I said when it kind of hits that area, wait for the EMA shift. So here it is. But this is the unfortunate thing with gold. Like very spiky, you know? So if the trade was taken here, right, and, you know, gotten up to 527 pips in profit, and then an hour later just reverse and it would have only been 86, and then boom, stop loss triggered, right? And then, but the thing is, EMA's never switched back. So this is really the issue that comes down to trading gold. I'll probably drop it on a lower time frame next time just to be certain where it's actually going, right? So EMA shifted up. Like, look, see, this is what I'm saying with these candle patterns. Okay, like even on the 15-minute, you can clearly see it here. Okay, these two. Right, it's still going up. Perfect entry for area for trade. Jumping in at the end of this candle. You know, your stop loss needs to be right at the bottom of that one, so almost 300 pips. Up it went almost 700, and then back down. But look, it never would have triggered the stop loss and kept going up. But like I said, once the EMA shift this way, there's no reason why you still need to be in the trade. Okay, that's gone and done. So yeah, I mean, many opportunities to be able to jump in on that area, but this one would have been the best, right, near the end of the week, where we saw that EMA shift happen right there, right, with a big candle. This would have been a fantastic entry, right, and just grab it all the way up. That's, you know, red candle, 3,000 pips in the span of an hour and a half. I think this is a 15-minute time frame, so how long did that take? Right, 8 bars, so 2 hours. Within 2 hours, it went up 3,300 pips. That's really good. But again, it's yeah, it's hard to judge, especially when, you know, if you want to set a really steep stop loss on gold. I mean, you're risking quite a lot. Right? It's not something that I would encourage, let alone do myself. So anyway, that's one thing to keep an eye on for, right? 15-minute time frame when you looking for the perfect entry. This is the better option. 1 hour, it's going to look very volatile. Okay, oil, good old oil. Look what's happening on the 1 hour. Every time it touches that white line ever since the end of May, right? Touch goes up, touch goes up. Broke through a little bit, goes up. touch. Hey, I wonder if it's going to go up. We'll have to see. Switch that back over to the daily. But we are in oversold territory right now. You can see these price lines. They keep wanting to climb up. But this is where we had our giant spike, and then everything kind of slowly trickled downwards. But on the daily, we've been climbing ever so slightly. We'll see if we kind of reach that same area again, that 126 a barrel. Right now, it is currently 118 a barrel. Prices were kind of already locked in for gas and everything else way up here, even though that it dropped, right? So it's to be expected. This is, I think, just a temporary, you know, from March 4th, it was just a temporary move down before it's actually going to be broken once again. Similar to what we've seen. Now, let's see. Where did we see this? It wouldn't be on XTI because that's newer for trading. It'll be on the US oil. So if we, right, same pattern. But if we take a look at where have we seen that kind of thing before, where it spikes up and then eventually goes back there? Maybe on the weekly, that'd be easier to find. So let's see what that looks like right now. Yeah, so big spike and then it's slowly coming back to it. No, definitely wasn't there. That would be nuts. But I see us heading back there sometime soon. Yep. Okay. Well, it's hard to say. Maybe this sort of pattern, right? And then it kind of trickled down. I don't know if we're going to see trickling down. It all really depends on, you know, our favorite person in office not screwing companies in order to be able to drill on American land. We'll see. You know, it's really simple to do. This is, you know, I can't honestly say that this is all done by accident or without people knowing. This is very clearly done on purpose, right? And yeah, that's the best I got for this. So anyway, overall, thank you for watching. This was Forex review and preview for the week of June. Let's say 12 to 18. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.